770 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, as well as Ag Director Bridgette Readel. She'll be joining us here in just a moment. And you're listening to us on WDAY radio, as well as watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, as well as Acres TV at Weather and Ag in Focus. If you'd like to join in the conversation, ask us any questions throughout the show, give us a phone call, 701-293-9000. We'll get you connected to us live here on the air to ask those questions. Again, that phone number, 701-293-9000, or you can always send those weather or ag-related questions or topics to our email during or after the show, weather or ag at flagfamily.com. Lots of fun things coming up on the show for today. We'll be talking about the forecast, as always, around our area and the nation, and believe it or not, we're going to be flirting with record heat. Yes, I said heat in November tomorrow. The record high is 73, set back in 1978. And we'll see temperatures reaching into the lower 70s tomorrow. It's going to be absolutely beautiful, although a bit on the windy side.
Why are we inside?
And that's what I'm trying to figure
outside.
out. We got temperatures right now in the lower 60s here in Fargo. Partly cloudy skies, a lighter wind, about 8 miles an hour.
I say we go remote tomorrow from one of our sponsors out on their back patio.
You know, I think that is a great idea. And it looks like Bridgette is all for it.
Bridgette's
as well.
on board.
On board? That's just a fake background. I'm already outside. What are you guys talking about?
She's got chroma key in the back of her. Well, we do have some great weather heading our way for the next couple of days. Get out and enjoy it. It's early November. We rarely get treated this nicely around here this time of the year. And we do have much cooler weather heading our way. Nothing too drastic, although next week turns sharply colder. And still no signs until maybe next week of any appreciable rain and or snow around the area. We're running out of time. We better get something here over the next 3 weeks. And I'm not talking just one storm. We need at least 2, maybe 3 to give us some, to catch up on the lack of precip. I was reading, Bridgette, I think it was since July here in the Southern Valley, we are between 5 and 10 inches below normal for rainfall. So, yeah, I mean, that's okay for harvest, but, boy, you can't sustain this much longer. You just can't.
Right. It's great that we got the crop off and we did it in a record amount of time with few problems, aside from some equipment breakdowns due to hard ground. But it's time to catch up because spring will be here before we know it. And I just said that. It's November 1st.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into winter yet.
That's right. Because remember, as a rule of thumb, a lot of folks think about early planting starting Easter Monday. And so that's a countdown already on is when we might be back in the field to plant.
Well, that kind of brings us into one of the topics that we're going to be talking about today, Bridgette. And maybe, I think I got the right day. It's Tuesday, right?
Today's Tuesday.
Well, even if it wasn't Tuesday, we're still going to talk about it today. We're going to be talking about disease consideration when choosing a soybean seed, as well as intercropping. How, why, what is it? We'll tell you all about that. And as well, we'll give you a few things on soil health, as well as the forecast and our guest today that will be joining us. That's Lloyd Metzger. We're going to find out how happy cows make happy cheese. So stay tuned with us. We'll have all that and so much more coming up here after ABC News. This is Weather and Ag in Focus.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. David DePape, charged with attacking House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, will go before a judge in San Francisco today.
Paul Pelosi, who remains hospitalized in San Francisco, was able to talk to investigators over the weekend to describe what he remembers from the attack inside of his home. According to a source familiar with the matter, we're told he shared details of the attack. Investigators say Pelosi did not know 42-year-old David DePape. The DePape violently broke into the back of the Pelosi home and made his way upstairs, where he encountered Pelosi early Friday morning.
ABC's Alex Stone opening statements Monday in the criminal trial of the last president's namesake company charged with helping certain execs evade income taxes.
This case is about greed and cheating, prosecutors said as they began the trial of former President Trump's family business. They said the Trump Organization orchestrated a 15-year scheme to help certain executives evade taxes by paying a substantial amount of their personal expenses off the books, including rent, car leases, and school tuition. The problem with doing it this way, the prosecutor said, is that it's not legal. The defense said it makes no sense to hold the company criminally liable because certain executives failed to pay their personal income taxes. Aaron Katursky, ABC News, Criminal Court, New York.
There will be no merger between Penguin Random House and Simon & Schuster. A federal judge in New York City has blocked the deal, agreeing with the Justice Department that the joining of two of the world's biggest publishers could lessen competition for top-selling books. Sentencing hearing for Parkland, Florida high school massacre shooter Nicholas Cruz begins today. Victim impact statements are first.
A jury couldn't unanimously agree on the death penalty for the 2018 school shooting that killed 17 people. 17 others were wounded. Cruz gets life in prison. One legal analyst says those testifying get a chance to tell the judge what they think the punishment ought to be.
ABC's Chuck Sievertson. You're listening to ABC News.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right, and when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender by Norton is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. 800-401-6681. That's 800-401-6681.
Terry, so talk about doing business with DJ Coulter and American Family Insurance.
DJ is one of those insurance agents that's always going to be there for you. And he's always got great advice for a young family starting out, for an old family. We've got all our cars through DJ, our RVs and our boats. We took out a couple cash value life insurance policies, wanted to do long-term after we retire. DJ helped us through the steps on that.
DJ Coulter, American Family Insurance, 235-6641, djcoulter.com.
Listen, this company in Fargo is paying a $17 per hour starting wage, a possible $750 bonus, hourly increases after 90 days, quarterly wage adjustments, and health insurance benefit at 30 hours per week. Red River Human Services of Fargo. This will be a job you'll be proud of, helping adults with developmental disabilities with a culture and benefits nobody else can match. Apply now at Red River Human Services at rrhsf.org. That's rrhsf.org.
Hi, my name is Justina, and I am a junior at Fargo North. I moved here with my parents at an early age, and I plan to study business in college. The reason that I'm so hopeful about my future is Legacy Children's Foundation. I want to thank the amazing donors who are complete strangers to me. I'm amazed by the generosity. Because of them, Legacy youth receive resources and positive relationships to become educated leaders. Find out more at legacychildrensfoundation.com.
Oil and natural gas create opportunities for North Dakota. In fact, over 50,000 North Dakotans have good-paying jobs thanks to the oil and natural gas industry. Real people finding prosperity in their careers and bringing it home for their families and communities. It's one of the many ways oil and natural gas are making life better in North Dakota for generations. North Dakota's oil and natural gas, advancing the possibilities.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. You're listening to us again on WDAY Radio. And remember, you don't just have to listen or watch us on the radio. Well, it'd be interesting if you could watch somebody on the radio, but you can. You can watch us on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, as well as Acres TV anywhere in the United States or the world, or on our website, WDAYradionow.com. Just click on the show archives button to find our past shows. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm. I'm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel. We hope that you join in on our conversation throughout our show, or for our guests that will be coming up here in a little bit. Give us a call, 701-293-9000. Ask those questions or comments. Again, that phone number is 701-293-9000. We're going to dive into one of those topics here. Something about intercropping. What, how, and why. Bridget, do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Well, I do, but I also want to give folks a reminder that it's very important. Next week, we're going to have election coverage because, let's face it, if you haven't started with your early voting, make sure that you mark next Tuesday, November 8th is the day that you want to get out and vote. And we'll be doing all the live election coverage here on WDAY and our sister station, The Flag, 1100 AM. So if you want to know what's going on up to the minute reports, you can either watch a streaming or you can listen live. Please do that when we're going to start that coverage at 8 o'clock and until all the results are in next week. So let's go to intercropping. This is a term that everybody kind of giggles at, and they're like, what in the world? It's not extraterrestrial. What's going on? If you have ever listened to folks talk about in the cattle business when they have raised a pea and oat crop together, planting oats and field peas so they can harvest it, make a haylage out of it to feed livestock, that's the theory. But we're also starting to see it done in a regular field system. So for instance, if you were to plant oats and barley together, you can manage disease together, you can use the same nitrogen sources together. Maybe if you were going to do it with canola and peas, same thing. The only problem is after you harvest, you've got to separate the two out, and you would have to set your sieves a little differently in your combine. But then as things are going through augers and screens, you can generally figure out a way to get them separated. For some of you who a few years ago were combining and had to, they had high vomitoxin cereal crop, they're going to have those screens available that they were using in order to be able to separate out the crop. So it's just a way of highly efficient use of the land where you're raising two crops at one time. That's not the same as double cropping, but now we're intercropping them. So kind of a unique perspective for those who haven't seen it or done it before. And the weather will play a part in that too. So Dean, if folks are thinking about their plans for next year, which they are,
right?
What's the weather forecast look like right now?
Oh, I
thought
you were going to put me on the spot and say for next year.
I want to know what next April looks like,
right?
Dean. Come on.
Well, you know what? We'll be able to tell you what next April is going to look like in about 3 to 4 weeks. How's that?
Do tell.
Well, using the LRC. So, again, if you're new to this, LRC is a forecasting technique founded by Gary Lezak, meteorologist down in Kansas City, and he found a way that the weather cycles, kind of like astronomy cycles. Astronomers can predict when eclipses are going to be to the second. Now, the LRC is not that accurate in terms of weather, but a good example, Gary, using the LRC, predicted Hurricane Ian back in March. I mean, 6-7 months before the hurricane actually hit. And we can also pinpoint when Arctic air masses will arrive in our area, any major storms as well. So the LRC set up on October 6th, and each year it's a different length of a cycle. This year we're still in cycle 1. We haven't set the cycle yet, but the first part of the cycle, you've known since October 6th, it's been bone dry around here. That's not good news. If we don't flip that switch here and get at least a few storms in here before the cycle sets, which is probably be sometime mid to late November, that means drought conditions more than likely continue for the spring and summer of next year. Now, again, we've still got time, so we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. We are seeing signs that we are going to get into a wetter pattern here over the next 2 to 3 weeks, which is great news. How wet that is still in question, but the next couple of days look dry. This whole week looks dry outside of a few sprinkles or snow showers Thursday night into Friday. Our next chance of appreciable precip won't come until next week. That may arrive on Election Day. So if you can vote early, you might want to. I'm not seeing a big storm by any means next Tuesday, but you don't want to give people an excuse to stay home. You know. So if you can vote early, but definitely get out next Tuesday. One thing for sure, this mild weather pattern that we're in right now, it's going bye-bye. by next week, we're in the 30s, and with much cooler weather heading our way. Still no signs of Arctic air yet, but
that's good.
But much colder weather heading our way for next week, and it looks like it'll stick around for a while. This tomorrow more than likely is going to be our last 70-degree day of the season. So just another reason to get out and enjoy it.
Dean, you said we might have good weather next week on Election Day. Is that like if you get rain on your wedding day, it's good luck? Is that the same for Election Day?
Depends who you're voting for.
Thought I'd ask.
Man.
And going back to the whole LRC thing, we're going to be having a special right here on WDAY Radio on December 7th.
December 7th.
2 o'clock.
We'll have our winter outlook. And a lot of people said, well, you guys did it a little earlier last year. Why are you waiting so long this year? There's a couple of reasons. We want to make sure, because the LRC cycle wasn't completely set last year when we did it right before Thanksgiving. It was a 60-day cycle. By December 7th, the cycle will be set. I mean, it should be. There's a chance it won't, but it more than likely will be set by then. Then we can pinpoint within a day or so when an Arctic air mass will be, when we can expect any storms around our area, not only for the winter, but also into spring and summer as well. So it's going to be interesting. And if we start to change things around here in a couple weeks, at least that'll lead to a little more interesting winter. If we don't, this will more than likely be a carbon copy of 2 winters ago. And if you remember that was when I first moved up here, and I was thinking, man, winters up here aren't that bad. What are you guys complaining about? This is nothing. Yeah.
Winters up here suck.
Yeah, winters up here, they're not easy.
Well, we'll be right back. We're going to get our guest on the line with us. That's Lloyd Metzger. We're going to be talking about how happy cows make happy cheese from Valley Queen Cheese Factory in South Dakota. Stay tuned. Weather and Egg in Focus. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Stacy from Midtown Tavern, featuring Dwayne's House of Pizza. Who else in town has a glycol polar plate system? What? It's a secondary system for chilling tap beer. Put that in one of our frosted mugs and it's the coldest beer in town. Everyone wants the coldest beer. Midtown Tavern has it. Combine that with a Dwayne's Pizza, as well as our vast menu with many handmade menu items, specials every day of the week, and a multi-purpose room up to 50 people. Stop in to visit us. The Midtown Tavern, 2223 Highway 10 East in Moorhead.
Looking to dress up your garage or patio? The concrete experts at Prairie Supply can help with any size concrete project. From design to delivery, we have built a great reputation renting equipment for your project needs. They have a large inventory of rental tools and equipment for decorative concrete, including stamps, polishing equipment, and a variety of tools designed to make your dream a reality. Prairie Supply, the contractor's headquarters. For more info, go to prairiesupply.com.
This is Spencer Brandt from Media Shack LLC. Do you want to have fun at the workplace? Media Shack's the place for you. Join our hardworking team of 14 people. We're currently hiring sales, embroidery, screen printing, production, and shipping and receiving positions. To get started, go to MediaShackFargo.com/careers. That's MediaShackFargo.com/careers, or call 701-612-9363 and ask for Jenna. That's 701-612-9363.
Do you run diesel? ATI Fargo has bulletproofing on your 6.0 vehicles. Looking to get fleet work done? ATI Fargo has you covered. They have fuel system disaster prevention kits for your 6.7 Power Strokes. ATI Fargo can get your Cummins head studded and never think of it again. Do you own a business and need quick turnaround on repairs? Call ATI Fargo. Stop in at 2764 44th Avenue North in Fargo. Running diesel? Check out ATI Fargo and give them a call at 218-639-5017.
At CDW, we get sometimes your teams have to be in 2 places at once.
Tell me about it. Our team lead needs to be at a wedding this weekend, but the big presentation is on Monday.
No need to panic. CDW experts can help you implement Citrix Workspace. It allows secure access to desktops from any device. Management is easy, and everyone in your office can stay close to their files and apps, even during the cha-cha slide.
Well, talk about having your cake.
And eating it, too. IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/Citrix.
Dad, I don't feel good.
I'll grab the Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey.
Isn't DayQuil just for parents?
Actually, Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey is just for kids, specially designed to treat kids' most bothersome cold symptoms quickly with a honeylicious tasting flavor kids like.
You know what else kids like?
DayQuil Kids Honey first, then video games.
Deal.
Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey. The kids' honeylicious daytime coughing, congestion, stuffy head, stuffy nose medicine. Safe for ages 6+.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Justin Storm, Meteorologist Extraordinaire and my own personal IT guy when I need things fixed. So thank you for that, Justin. I appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Thank you. Most importantly, we have a guest today. And for those of you who are listening and you would like to ask questions, you please and certainly can at 701-293-9000. Join our conversation as we talk today with Lloyd Metzger of Valley Queen Cheese Plant in Millbank, South Dakota. And Lloyd, I want to let folks know how I found you as a guest today, and that's because I saw you on the History Channel. You want to start there, how you wound up on the History Channel?
Well, prior to joining Valley Queen, I was actually a professor at SDSU and spent 13 years there, and then did a lot of research on cheese manufacturing, especially processed cheese. So I got contacted to be on a show called Foods That Built America to talk about processed cheese manufacture and how that product is made.
And this was related to like Kraft macaroni and cheese, the blue box, right?
Exactly.
Okay, as a dairy farmer's daughter, I gotta ask, is that real cheese or do we only consider the cheese in the refrigerated case real cheese?
Well, a percentage of it is real cheese. So when you talk about cheese, there's a category called natural cheese and a category called processed cheese. Natural cheese is a cheese that effectively is still alive because we have organisms in there that we use when we manufacture the cheese that are still present. When we make a pasteurized processed cheese, we're actually giving it a heat treatment, and that's a product like Velveeta. It has a much longer storage period. You can even store that product at room temperature in some cases. So 2 categories, natural and processed.
Okay. And at Valley Queen Dairy Cheese Plant, do you specialize in the natural cheese by chance?
We specialize in the natural cheese. We produce a little bit over 500,000 pounds of cheese each day. So more than 5 million pounds of milk come into the plant every day, and we process that into cheese as well as a few other products.
How far out are you getting the milk from to bring in that much milk daily?
Believe it or not, no more than 90 miles, and we only have 42 farms that provide all that milk.
Wow.
Really?
Are you kidding? Wow. Sorry, that was out loud.
But, sustainability is a big word that you hear now. And a really efficient way to process milk into cheese is to have a production facility that's very close to the farms that produce it. Milk is more than 85% water, so moving that water around is very expensive. And a lot of your costs relate to moving that water around. So it's very important to try to be as close to the processing facility as you can. Cheese making is really a concentration process. So for every 10 pounds of milk you start with, you end up with 1 pound of cheese. So the quicker you can get that liquid milk converted into cheese, and then you want to ship cheese further distances. So our cheese primarily ends up going primarily into Wisconsin, and in that area is where a lot of the cheese converters are, and converters take the cheese and cut it down into slices, shreds, chunks, different sizes of material. Believe it or not, the smallest unit of cheese we make weighs just under 700 pounds. So our blocks of cheese are a couple feet wide, just about 3 feet high, and about 2 feet in length.
So are you telling me that Wisconsin cheese comes from your plant?
Correct, of course.
And by the way, a 700-pound block of cheese, might get me through a year, Lloyd. I'll take one.
Okay. Yeah, I have friends all the time that ask for cheese if I could get them some, and I'm like, yeah, as long as you'll take it 700 pounds at a time. But in fact, we do have a cheese store on Main Street where we will sell 1 pound blocks in Millbank. So you will not see our name, Valley Queen Cheese, in the grocery store, but I can guarantee that if you shop at Walmart, or if you shop at a Kroger store, or if you shop at Target, or if you've had a breakfast sandwich at Starbucks, or if you've had an Arby's prime rib cheesesteak sandwich, you've had cheese from Valley Queen.
So this cheese that you're mass producing and you're sending it out, like you said, your name isn't on it. You sell these 700-pound blocks of cheese. This other place cuts it up, and then they throw their name on the label and sell it?
Their name or a variety of names. So we will sell to different converters that have different customers that will either everything from a Walmart brand to almost any other brand you can name, including, for example, something like a Kraft.
And what's the furthest away, Lloyd, that you guys ship your cheese?
Some of it goes south into Missouri, some to Minnesota, but primarily going to Wisconsin, a little bit into Michigan as well.
So it's mainly
where it initially
Midwest.
goes and then gets converted, and virtually all that cheese ends up on the East Coast primarily through Chicago and then off to the East Coast.
Interesting.
Again, you have all that water and milk. You're trying to get that water removed and have a much more dense product. And then once you cut it and slices it and package it, again, your transportation costs get bigger because you have more packaging involved at that point.
Right. And what kind of cheeses are you guys making?
We'll make over 20 different varieties. One of our most popular is actually a Gouda. We make 1 day's worth or so, almost 500,000 pounds of Gouda every week. But primarily American style. So cheddar, Kobe, Monterey Jack, Pepper Jack, the normal ones that you're used to. We also make versions of our cheese that have less fat in, as well as versions that have extra fat in them. So you've kind of seen the market spread apart based on fat contents of cheese as well.
What about any of those like really long aged cheeses? Do you do any of those, or is that something a little different?
We are developing an aged cheddar right now, actually. So have just started an expansion. So in January of 2025, we'll actually be processing over 8 million pounds of milk a day instead of 5 million. So we're in the process of a pretty big expansion. So we'll make almost 900,000 pounds of cheese a day when we have our expansion done in January. A lot of that volume we're hoping to build into an aged cheddar program. So if you've had cheddar sharp or extra sharp that you see around, we're trying to get into that market. So,
and Lloyd, is yours one of the biggest cheese plants in the country? I mean, that's just an enormous amount.
To be an efficient cheese manufacturer now, a lot of the sites will process 8 million pounds of milk a day. There are sites that process over 14 million pounds of milk a day.
Wow.
What's really unique about Valley Queen is we are still a privately held dairy company. So we're one of the largest privately held dairy companies. We're founded in 1929, so 93 years old, and still privately held is just a really unique situation to be in.
And we're speaking
I am
with...
so blown away, Lloyd. This is amazing. Yeah, and as Justin's saying, this is Lloyd Metzger. He's with Valley Queen Dairy out of Millbank, South Dakota. Lloyd, this is phenomenal, the amount of information. All of us are just in awe about the amount of milk that comes in and how many pounds of cheese you process daily. After we have a chance to check in on some commercials, we're going to come back and we want to visit more with you about what you do at Valley Queen. Personally speaking, I want to know how many trucks a day bring in that many millions of gallons of milk. So stay tuned, folks, and call us if you'd like, 701-293-9000 to join our conversation with Lloyd Metzger with Valley Queen Dairy.
It's that time again.
Been on the campaign trail now for about 8 or 9 months, been to all 4 corners of the state.
Election season is here on WDAY Radio. From statewide candidates and issues to the local races that all affect you, we have you covered.
As elected officials entrusted with the administration of the law, it's even more important that the Attorney General tell the public the truth.
And once the polls close election night, your best post-election coverage is right here on AM 970 and FM 93.1 WDAY. We'll see you at the polls November 8th.
Save now on premium mattresses, pillows, bases, and linens at Accord Comfort Sleep Systems directly across from Olive Garden. Find the best mattress design and construction with our exclusive technologies such as our Accord Comfort Reflex Layer, ensuring proper spinal alignment. Our Thermodyne Climate Control fabric is perfect for the couple sleeping hot and cold. Buy today and take it home today, or free delivery in the FM metro area. Accord Comfort Sleep Systems. You're going to love sleeping with us.
Are you, a family member, your neighbor, or friend saving for something special or have unexpected expenses? Labor Masters is here to help. Hi, Nancy Kelly here. The process is simple. Bring your picture ID, a social security card or birth certificate. It takes 10 minutes to fill out the application and we'll put you to work. So come in, go to work, and get paid the same day. To learn more, go to labormasters.net. The best companies, great jobs, and daily pay.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or have pain or numbness in your feet, call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7505. Again, 701-929-7505. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. It can lead to balance problems, complete loss of independence, and in some cases, amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start to feel relief from their symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone and call now at 701-929-7505 or find out if you're a candidate for our neuropathy program that has changed thousands of lives. Call us today at 701-929-7505.
When it's time to build outside the box, build with Thor.
Stan, my mother's coming to stay with us indefinitely.
I need a space for the boys. Where can we watch the big screen, play cards, eat wings, drink, and work?
Stan, there's no room in the garage for my garden tools.
Need more space, whether it's a granny flat, a man cave, a decked out shop condo, or a she shed, or a horse barn. They've gotten creative when it comes to thinking outside the box. Thor Buildings at thorbuildings.com.
I'm David Chapman, and I'm a candidate for district judge. Our courts were designed to interpret and enforce the law. Our courts were not designed to write the law, which is the job of our elected legislators. In North Dakota, our judiciary carefully respects this special role, and I am a candidate because I wish to use my years of experience to continue that tradition of enforcing the law regardless of personal preference. If elected, I would be honored to serve.
Paid for by David Chapman.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. We want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. Our special guest today, Lloyd Metzger with Valley Queen Cheese Plant down in Millbank, South Dakota. And Lloyd, thank you again for joining us. During our break, we had one of our listeners call in, and he said he wanted to know how much 7 pounds of cheese would cost.
700.
700 pounds.
700.
Sorry.
One block of cheese.
Yeah, so one block of cheese that you have in 700-pound blocks, how much would that cost, he wanted to know.
Right, but just to give a ballpark number, cheese is typically somewhere around $2 a pound.
Oof.
There
So,
you go.
there- all right.
$1,400 for an old block of cheese.
Wow.
Trying to fit that on a cracker.
I'm gonna need to write a big check.
Right. And Lloyd, okay, you know, we focus with weather around here is very important. And how would a drought conditions affect the cheese industry? How would it affect you specifically?
Well, it's sure going to affect the farmers that produce milk for us, because obviously corn silage is a very important feed component that they're going to have. So if you have drought impacts, you're going to impact that corn silage and the quality of that corn silage. Generally, you won't have big impacts on milk composition from that, though, but the costs of production are sure going to change when you have a drought.
Okay.
If we have really high heat, depending on the farming practices, that can have an impact on milk composition. Cows do not like excessive heat, but most modern dairies now have a system of really good ventilation. They call them cross flow ventilated barns, and they move enough air across the barn that the cows stay cool, and really have minimal impact on milk composition now compared to, say, 10 to 15 years ago. In the middle of July, when it get really hot, we would see a pretty big impact on our milk composition, which would affect the amount of cheese that we're able to produce.
I see. And Lloyd, I got a couple of email questions here from a couple of listeners. They wanted to know, do you ever bring in goat milk for cheese?
No, we don't at Valley Queen. I did get involved in that once in a while when I was at South Dakota State, but not at Valley Queen.
I see. And then one other one that just came in. They're wondering if you need any tasters at your plant.
Believe it or not, we do have a group that tastes every vat or a sample of cheese from every vat that we make. It's really an important part of our daily production evaluation, is to look at the cheese that we produce and make sure it has the flavor profile and characteristics that we're after. So we literally do grade every vat of cheese that we produce. So with the right
raising
training,
my
yes,
hand
we
right
do
here,
have those
Lloyd,
positions
right here.
open.
Nice. I'll take that. Okay. So Lloyd, you mentioned we were talking about silage in a ration for dairy cows. Do you feel like there's a difference in the diet for a dairy cow that's going to go send their milk in for cheese production versus drinking milk production? Any difference at all?
Probably not typically. Oftentimes the milk is pooled and may go to different, whether it goes to fluid or cheese. In our region of the state, there just is not a lot of people, so there's not much fluid production, and virtually all of the milk produced ends up for cheese manufacture.
Wow. So because we aren't really math geniuses here on this show, although occasionally we make Justin do it for us, just the amount of trucks that come in with your milk needs, how many trucks are you unloading a day, and how fast are you unloading trucks at your plant?
So we unload a little bit more than 100 trucks, about 100 to 125 trucks of liquid milk are going to come in every day. And then we're going to have like 13 semi-loads of cheese that are going to have to leave every day as well. But we also have all kinds of materials that need to show up at the plant and that kind of stuff. So we end up with a lot of trucks coming through Millbank on a daily basis. And we run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time. So
that brings
cows
up,
don't stop milking.
No, they don't. Now that brings up another question that just popped up with the trucker shortage that was kind of going on and kind of is a little bit now even. How has that affected your guys' operation, or have you guys been kind of okay? Do you hire your own trucks, or are these kind of like a third party that get brought in?
We're a really unique dairy manufacturer in that we hire all our own truckers and own all our own trucks as far as hauling the liquid milk. So we had to offer, it was hard to get people the last few years just because of the way the trucking industry has been. We do have a huge advantage, though, of being able to have daily runs. So our truckers get to come home every night and spend their evening with their family, which is nice to have. So we have a lot of long-term drivers that have been a part of Valley Queen. And again, go back to, we're a privately held company. We pay our drivers very well, and we have a profit sharing program for all our employees that are an important part of retaining our people and, attracting the best available people we can.
So what about blizzard conditions? If you're on a planned route and you can't get through, there's a certain amount of on-farm storage. Do you bring on extra trucks or run longer routes in order to try to work around that problem to get that milk, that perishable item in as fast as you can? And what's kind of that process look like for you as we get closer to these winter months, Lloyd?
It is a logistical nightmare. I wouldn't want to be our procurement manager. His name is Evan Grong, and he just does a phenomenal job. So we do have this 90-mile radius about the plant, and typically weather patterns aren't going to cover that whole area. So oftentimes, even when it's bad, we can still get milk into the plant, maybe from a different direction. We have limited on-site storage capacity, and obviously very limited on-farm capacity. And in fact, in a pretty significant portion of our farms, we direct load right onto the tanker truck. They don't store it there. So it is a logistical nightmare, and we don't shut down. We have a phenomenal maintenance department that has to keep things moving as well, because just to give an example, so we process 5 million pounds of milk a day. We can't hold even half of that on site. So we have to constantly be getting milk in for the plant to continue to run.
You know, that kind of leads into another point. And again, for those joining us, we're speaking with Lloyd Metzger from Valley Queen Cheese Factory down in South Dakota. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, ask a question, 701-293-9000 is our studio lines. What happens if you have too much or not enough milk that comes in on that day? Let's say that there is a storm system and transportation just isn't ideal for the southern half of your guys' 90-mile radius. What happens when you're short or you have too much?
So when we're short, we have no choice but to stop the plant. And we obviously would prefer not to, because we have signed contracts with customers to deliver a certain amount of cheese. So we really want to stay on our production schedule. And then that milk is going to eventually get here anyway, and you're going to have to process it. Now, if we have too much milk, you can try to sell it on the open market, but the big risk with milk is it's perishable. So the value you get out of that milk can diminish very quickly if you aren't able to sell it right away.
So, Lloyd, can you give me an idea of the size of dairy farms that you're working with? What's one of your smaller farms versus one of your larger farms per head of operation, to see, kind of what the supply is for all the cows that are bringing milk to you?
Wide range. Will go all the way from our smallest producers would be in that 100 to 200 cow range, all the way up to producers that have over 6,000 cows at one location.
Wow, that's a lot of cows.
Sure is.
Oh, this has been so
in
fabulous.
In total, we process milk from about 82,000 cows a day.
It's a lot of cows. And now I don't
am
know
just
if,
blown away.
So am I, Bridgette. I don't know if this kind of goes, if we asked this already or not. But is there like a special diet that goes with these cows for, milk production versus cheese production, or is it all kind of the same? Are there like guidelines that you like to give your providers to follow, so that way it's kind of on the same standard for the milk that you're using as a whole?
Yeah, so we don't tell our processors how to feed their cows. They're really good at that. But what we do is give incentives for the composition of that milk. So we want milk that has fat and protein in it, because when you make cheese, it's a concentration process. I kind of alluded to it before. And in that concentration process, you're capturing the fat and protein that were in that starting milk. So the more fat and protein you start with, the more cheese you're going to get. So when we pay our producers, we pay them based on how much cheese we're going to get from their milk. So each individual producer gets a different price for their milk based on how much cheese we can make from that milk. Just makes it very fair.
Interesting.
Gives incentives for them to breed their cattle and feed them to maximize the amount of cheese that can be produced from that milk. So it's a nice feedback loop that we have. And, it makes us happy because we can make lots of cheese. It makes our producers happy because they can do selection and feeding that will maximize the amount of fat and protein that they can produce and the revenue that they're going to bring back to the farm.
Wow. That just seems like a very fair way of doing it.
Well, again, 93-year-old privately held company, profit sharing with our employees. We treat our farmers well because we want them to stay in business. We want lots of cows close to the plant because, again, to be sustainable, you don't want to haul that water any farther than you have to, and you want to be as efficient as you possibly can be throughout that whole production facility. And again, we want them to make more fat and protein in their milk because that allows us to produce more cheese from every pound of milk we take into the plant.
All right, I got one last question for you, Lloyd. This is another email one. They wanted to know if you do any tours of your factory.
We don't to the general public. If you're an employee, or then your family can do some evening employee tours. But just with the food safety requirements we have, and the protocols we have to follow, we just can't open the facility up to the general public.
I see. Well, Lloyd, go ahead, Bridgette.
There goes me being Lloyd's cousin. Sorry.
Oh, well, Lloyd, we really appreciate you coming on with Weather and Ag in Focus today. If people out there are interested or they want to get more information about your operation, is there anywhere that you would like to share where they could get that information or follow kind of what your company does?
Yeah, we got Valley Queen has a Facebook page and obviously has a website as well that's easy to find. And I alluded to, we are in the middle of planning an expansion. We currently have over 300 employees, but we'll have to hire 125 employees in the next 2 years for our expansion. So a great company to work for as well. If you're looking for a job, we have a lot of them available.
Bridgette, you're not allowed to take that job. I know how much you want to see and taste the cheese, but we need you here.
Dairy farmer's daughter. Never stop loving cheese right here.
Well, Lloyd, we hope you have a great rest of the day. And when we come back with Weather and Ag in Focus, we'll take another look at that forecast. We still got a couple ag topics to get to. And again, if you want to join in on our conversation, give us a phone call, 701-293-9000. It'll get you connected to us live here in the studios, 701-293-9000. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Hi, I'm Capri, and the little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe is the chicken. They actually put it on the grill, cooked it in the sauce. It's definitely a good grilled spicy sandwich.
Hey, I'm Michelle, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe is it's spicy and it's full of flavor. When you pair that with the Kale Crunch Salad, it's just good.
Order a grilled spicy deluxe sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Finding the right Medicare plan? Oof, no easy feat. Kind of like those dances my granddaughter loves making me do. But then I found Walgreens FindRx coverage. Lets you compare plans online, over the phone, or in person. Made Medicare shopping so easy. Plus, I found plans with low-cost copays. I can get down with that. Medicare annual enrollment ends December 7th. Find a plan that's right for you at walgreens.com/Medicare.
Hi, this is Stacy from Midtown Tavern, featuring Dwayne's House of Pizza. Who else in town has a glycol polar plate system? What? It's a secondary system for chilling tap beer. Put that in one of our frosted mugs and it's the coldest beer in town. Everyone wants the coldest beer. Midtown Tavern has it. Combine that with a Dwayne's Pizza, as well as our vast menu with many handmade menu items, specials every day of the week, and a multi-purpose room up to 50 people. Stop in to visit us. The Midtown Tavern, 2223 Highway 10 East in Moorhead.
Soybeans led the way higher all day. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Rispa with this market update. Soybeans started the day with double-digit gains, and they just continued to go and extend their lead. While corn and wheat both started the day lower, however, they both did fight their way back, with wheat being the upside winner on that one. Took a little longer for spring wheat to hit positive territory, but in the noon hour, Chicago really took off and saw some double-digit support. As far as the livestock complex, feeders started up. However, they turned negative late morning. While the hogs started the day steady, they ended up their day mixed to positive. The fats, however, did start the day lower and continued their momentum. They're just going deeper. Now, the United Nations is insisting that the grain trade agreement that allows Ukraine to ship grain from 3 ports remains intact even without Russia's involvement, and 350,000 metric tons of grain left Ukraine ports yesterday, which is a record under the agreement. The real problem, though, is keeping those ships coming into the port, as insurance, affordable insurance anyway, is getting very tough to come about. Corn prices at the port are already in decline due to the declining number of buyers willing to risk load out at those ports. And crude oil prices traded north of 2% for most of the day on rumors that China may end their zero COVID policy and may reopen in the first quarter of next year. Let's get a look at the closing commodity numbers. December corn up 6 1/4 at 6.97 3/4. Beans November up 28 3/4 at 14.35 3/4. Bean meal December down 3.30 a ton at 424.80. Bean oil December up 16 points at 73.37. Wheat Chicago December up 20 1/4 at 902 1/2. Kansas City December up 11 1/4 at 990, and the Minneapolis December wheat that is up 5 at 986 1/4. Live cattle December down 52 at 151.95. November feeders down 70 at 176.92, and the December lean hogs they are up 27 at 85.20. And crude oil is trading up almost $2 at just over $88 a barrel. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvedt.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. We are so glad that you are joining us because our conversation today has been fantastic. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and our Meteorologist Extraordinaire, Justin Storm. During our last segment, where we were visiting with Lloyd Metzger from Valley Queen Dairy of Millbank, South Dakota, we had a question come in via email regarding pumpkins, because how could you keep your pumpkins shelf life extended, so to speak, after harvest? The gardener and me comes right on out with an answer, and that would be an idea that I do, and that is if you use an acidic based solution, so take like a vinegar water solution and wash your pumpkins in that. After you harvest them, it gets the dirt off, removes bacteria and so forth, and especially on the cut stem end, that will help your pumpkins last longer. Also, if you have them outside on nights where it gets really cold and then warms up again, it will affect the integrity of your pumpkin. They can kind of melt down and decompose. We'll probably get a chance to visit about that a little more in depth at the end of the week on Friday when Randy Nelson, Clay County Extension Educator, joins us in the afternoon as our guest. Before him, we've got some others. Tomorrow, we're going to have Doug Lear with North Dakota Game and Fish. And on Thursday, Joy Kinsey with North Dakota Cattle Women's is going to join us. But before we get to our guests, gentlemen, Dean, what's the weather going to look like around the country for the rest of the week?
Well, big system coming into the West Coast. This is great news. And again, this is what we were talking about, our pattern change turning a little wetter, because we're eventually, when we go back to a ridge anchored off or near the West Coast and a big trough in the east or in the Great Lakes area, that's when we know that the LRC cycle has reset. Not seeing that. Now we're getting these storms coming into the West Coast. Great news for the West, the interior mountain region. Great news for ski resorts because we're going to build up snowpack. Western Canada is going to build up a pretty decent snowpack out of this. Now, the bad news for us is at least storm number 1 coming in late this week into the weekend. It's going to provide most of the moisture just off to our south and east. So areas from, let's say, central and western Kansas through Omaha, Kansas City, up through Minneapolis, going to get some very beneficial rains out of this. Great news for those areas. They need it. We're going to miss out on most of that moisture. Another storm behind that, though, is going to provide, it looks like, some needed moisture for our area. Where it's looking like that's going to get up into the northern plains as we head towards probably the middle of next week. And that storm system coming in towards the end of this week, going to provide severe weather in the southern plains, along with some beneficial rains, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas. Again, all the really bad drought-stricken areas to our south are going to get some much-needed moisture over the next 2 to 3 weeks out of this. And I think we'll be right on the northern end of that, not with the first storm, but for the ones following that. So fingers crossed on that. Other than that, the nation, record warmth in the midsection of the country from here all the way down to the Gulf Coast and into the Great Lakes. But again, that pattern is going to change as we head into next week. So enjoy the nice weather. That's for sure. I mean...
Well, and I think that's worthwhile. It is November 1st. Tomorrow, we're going to be able to celebrate North Dakota's birthday. So tell me it's still going to be kind of nice out before we get too far, Dean.
We'll have near record warmth for a nice birthday present.
Yep. The record for tomorrow, Wednesday, November 2nd, here in Fargo is 73 degrees back in 1978. What are we forecasting? 72.
72.
And close in the lower 70s.
We very well may set, depending on cloud cover tonight, we might set a record warm overnight low as well, as we're barely going to drop into the upper 40s, it looks like. Again, we have clear skies. It clears off a little more. Then we'll get a little cooler. But, yeah, I mean, like I always say, whether it's record warm or cold, might as well put it in the record books.
Yep, might as well make it notable.
Absolutely. Just as notable as our guest was today, because, guys, I'm still blown away by the amount of milk and cheese they process.
That was such a fun conversation. Awesome. And for those just joining, if you missed that conversation, I highly recommend you go back and listen to that, because completely blown away with what we just learned in that conversation. You can find it on our Facebook page, even our YouTube page, which we stream live to every single day, our website, WDAYradionow.com, on the show archives tab, or on Acres TV, streaming services by the Hefty Seeds Company. You can find that past interview and all of our other shows on all of those platforms. Now, we only got about 2 minutes left here, Bridgette. I want to get to another ag topic before we have to get out of here. Let's talk about, I don't know which one is going to be longer, but I would like to talk about disease consideration when choosing soybean seeds, if we have time.
Remember at the start of our hour where we said that it's already time to think about planting next spring? And because we just finished harvest, farmers are doing that right now. They're purchasing decisions, especially for soybeans, are making those. Can you catch me now? Sorry.
Yes, there we go. That's better.
Yep. Okay. So we are making those planting decisions right now. And one of the things that folks are thinking about is, as we do this LRC cycle and do our special, will we anticipate some storms coming in, bringing us lots of moisture in the spring? Because in our disease packages on our seed, we might have to think about sclerotinia, white mold. We might have to think about other soybean diseases like Phytophthora if it's too wet. And so what we do with the LRC helps impact seed buying decisions, ladies and gentlemen.
And to close out, Justin and I were talking about this. Great news, well, better news from some of the damage that was done down in Florida from Hurricane Ian. They're just starting to reopen businesses on Sanibel Island. They already built the bridge going over because that bridge got wiped out. So we were just reading an article that they're just starting to open some of the businesses on Sanibel Island. So they're starting to recover from Hurricane Ian down south.
And adding on to that, one of our other past guests that we had on the show, we were talking with a citrus agronomist down with the university down in southern Florida, talking about the issues that Hurricane Ian brought to the citrus crop down there. Well, we learned that it goes back many years before Hurricane Ian with a lot more issues going on with the citrus crop. So another great listen. You can find it on our Facebook and YouTube channel. That is how the citrus crop is doing post Hurricane Ian. But that'll do it for us today. We thank you for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. We're back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right here on WDAY, as well as Facebook and YouTube. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.